Is it just a coincidence that Dulos' phone is being moved and manipulated and yet we're only the defendant's home? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant travels with Dulos to Hartford as he disposes of the evidence on the same day? Is it just a coincidence that the defendant brought black garbage bags to Amy Mountain and Jennifer's shirt and bra were found inside black trash bags?
For alternate juror Patrick, he wanted us to only use his first name.
Mother being taken away from her children.
The prosecution's closing put weeks of testimony into perspective.
Where it all came together really was in closing arguments. That's when it all made sense to me. And really up to that point, I'd entertained both sides in my head.
As an alternate juror, Patrick was released before deliberations.
Thank you.
After a little more than 2 days,
The jury has reached a unanimous verdict.
the jury sent word to the judge.
Will the defendant please rise? State of Connecticut versus Michelle Chaconis. What say you, Mr. Foreperson?
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
What did that feel like, hearing guilty?
Well, I held her arm and I could just feel the energy leave her body. Everything was dead silent.
Everything just stopped at that moment.
Yes.
And it was really stunning. And I guess I mean that in the physical sense of being stunned and just sort of hanging on every word. Patrick says he agreed with the verdict, including the most serious charge, conspiracy to commit murder. What makes you believe that she helped plan it?
I think the totality of the evidence, not only what I thought she was deceptive in her interviews, but even just absent of that, the moving around of Fotis's phone in the morning, the answering the phone call, covering for him, even if there was an explanation for it, that certainly shows that he had some reason to do that.
The Chaconis family spoke to the press after the verdict.
And we continue standing here because we too care to know the truth of what happened to Jennifer, but we don't know what happened to Jennifer. And choosing and putting my sister as the guilty person is not the right thing to do because she's innocent.
Thank you.
For Jennifer Farber-Dulos' family and friends, it was the verdict they had hoped for, but it did little to ease the anguish they feel every day that she remains missing. And that's what's the most painful. You don't know. You don't know where she is. Do you think you ever will? I don't know.
So, faces questions, Republican senators have at least privately voiced doubts about whether she should continue to be the nominee. The hearing is a sign that the Trump administration wants to go forward. And, of course, there have been confirmations this week. 2 nominees initially withdrew, including Matt Gaetz, who you see on the upper left. While we have now seen the confirmations start to come in, we are tracking power and right of protest in America. It is your right. All right, I'm going to right now. The readout with Joy Reid is up next. Hi, Joy.
Hi, you know I'm tempted to say, oh, pirates, yes, they rabbi. Sold I to the merchant ships. That's the best protest song of all time. Maybe that's the
Bob Marley redemption song. I'm not surprised that it's your pick. I love that it's your pick.
It just is the best. We can debate it later. Thank you, Art. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. And coming up, thank you for joining us tonight. Clearly, it has been a very busy, busy day, not just for protest songs. And we have a lot to get in just 1 hour, in the next hour of the readout, including 2 very, very big interviews. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer and New York Attorney General Letitia James both join me tonight on Trump's reality TV immigration raids and his blatantly illegal federal spending freeze as he moves quickly to consolidate his authoritarian power. But we begin tonight with Chief Justice John Roberts, who just 7 months ago granted Donald Trump sweeping powers of immunity. In granting him immunity and impunity, Roberts explained that it was necessary because a president must not be chilled from taking bold and unhesitating action administration required of an independent executive. Mere laws be damned. President Trump took Roberts' permission slip to heart, issuing an unprecedented pause of all, I repeat, all federal grants and loans, which was supposed to go into effect at 5 p.m. Eastern today, less than 24 hours after every agency was informed. But because there is still rule of law, at 4:59 p.m., a federal judge in Washington, D.C. temporarily halted the funding freeze until next Monday so she can review its legality. Yesterday's news immediately plunged the country into chaos because the directive could affect trillions of dollars that Congress has already approved for things like Head Start, cancer research, special needs kids, local law enforcement, opioid treatment, and a myriad of other initiatives. And not to step on the judge here, and I am clearly not a lawyer, but yeah, the funding freeze is unlawful on its face because, Congress is the one that has the power of the purse. And they already approved the money to be spent. I guess bold and unhesitating action means ignoring the Constitution, or ignoring the Supreme Court and that other law banning TikTok, or ignoring a 2022 law requiring the president to give a rationale and 30 days notice to Congress before firing the inspector generals that he already fired. Maybe you can be bold and unhesitating when you hire the folks from the Heritage Foundation who wrote Project 2025. You know, the ones who told us the federal government should stop funding pretty much everything except tax cuts for the super rich and corporations, like Russell Lowe, the soon-to-be director of the Office of Management and Budget, OMB, who wrote in the Project 2025 manifesto, quote, "The president should use every possible tool to propose and impose fiscal discipline on the federal government. Anything short of that would constitute abject failure." While Trump was pausing federal funding and making it harder for working-class folks to get ahead, he was asking Congress to pony up billions of dollars for his theatrically cruel immigration raids. NBC News is reporting that ICE plans on hitting 3 big, most likely Democratic cities every week. It's unclear if raids are planned for rural areas in Republican states with businesses known to hire unauthorized immigrants too. And just hours before his administration announced the funding freeze, Trump was telling reporters that he wanted to make sure his billionaire buddies will be paying lower taxes permanently. His Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, meanwhile, was telling the Financial Times that they also want to implement a 2.5% increase in universal tariffs, which will go up by the same amount each month, which you get to pay for with higher prices at the store. But at least Elon, Mark, Jeff, and most of Trump's cabinet won't have to worry about paying for a thing. Joining me now is Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Her new book, the young adult edition of her New York Times bestseller, True Gretch, is out today. Thanks so much for being here, Governor. Let's go through this, because this is, I'm holding here the first few pages of the lawsuit that was filed by multiple states, including yours, regarding this emergency temporary restraining order about funding for the federal government. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. It requires all federal agencies to conduct a review of all federal financial assistance supporting activities for consistency with current presidential policy, including the slate of executive orders directing immigration activities, eradicating DEI initiatives from federal programs, eliminating protections for members of the LGBTQ community, and removing conservation-focused regulations intended to protect the environment. In other words, it sounds like they're freezing all of the money that your state is entitled to because they want to root out help for gay people and the environment and any person who's diverse. That seems pretty sick to me, but your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Joy, I think that these Trump cuts are going to have a devastating impact on people's lives. There's no question about it. When we think about food assistance, food prices are through the roof, right? We already know eggs and avian flu, what it means, but to talk about tariffs is going to increase the cost of our blueberries, right? It's going to increase the cost of building a home or being able to afford a car or getting a job on the line in a state like Michigan. That's a big deal. But this is about American manufacturing. This is about our ability to get ahead. And this kind of chaos with these Trump cuts are now making it even harder for law enforcement to monitor the, sexual predator registration. So this is going to have a direct negative impact on American
Americans' lives all across this country. Whether you voted for President Trump or not, we're all going to pay a price for the chaos that this is creating. Let me play for you Carolyn Levitt, who is the new White House spokesperson. She was asked about the sort of confusing nature of this freeze because there's lots of alarm out here. People who are thinking student grants will be gone. Medicaid is a big one that people are worried about, Head Start. She's asked about that today, and here's what she said.
So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the policy?
I'll check back on that and get back to you.
As the governor of Michigan, have you got clarity on whether Medicaid payments, Head Start, school lunch, whether that's cut to or frozen to?
No, and I think cut's probably the right word, Joy. The money was appropriated. It was supposed to be, done, and now I think it's throwing everything into chaos. And when the administration has a hard time answering the questions about what the ramifications are, it tells you that it is not something that they've even considered what the outcome's going to be. The talk around tariffs, similarly, I'm glad that they're moving a little bit slower on that front, but I urge caution and hope that they move quickly to get these dollars out. They have been duly appropriated, and I think that there's a very real question whether or not these actions are lawful.
For Michigan, nearly $34 billion of your state budget is built on federal dollars, which equates to 42% of your fiscal year 2025 total. 2.6 million people currently have health care coverage through Medicaid or the Healthy Michigan Plan. In 2022, Michigan received $258 million in Head Start funding. What would be the pragmatic impact? Because it seems that this is an attempt by the Project 2025 people running Donald Trump's government to find a way to get rid of that funding to make room for these massive tax cuts for the super rich and for these tariffs that people now without Medicaid and food stamps would have to pay at retail.
The rhetoric about making sure that we're abiding by the law, making sure that we're supporting American manufacturing, making sure that Americans can keep more money in their pockets at the grocery store. That was all a part of the campaign, and yet these actions are going to impose so many costs on Americans. So whether it is at the grocery store or just paying your energy bill, there are consequences to every one of these actions. And when the administration can answer the questions about what they mean, it tells you they're not trying to understand, they're not trying to see the humanity in others. And part of, I'm here to talk a little bit about the book, but the fact of the matter is, we put a young adult edition out because we've got to see the humanity of one another. We got to listen to one another, and we've got to continue to make our voices heard. This is a path for how can we move forward in extremely stressful and chaotic times, and I'm sad to say this is exactly what's playing out, and we need this more than ever.
Well, and I do want to talk about the book because you said you said this I think a couple of months ago that you wanted to try to find common ground with Donald Trump, that you would attempt to do that where it was possible. I think a lot of Democratic voters that sticks in their craw. They don't want to find common ground with somebody who seems to be an autocrat and whose own former aides and chief of staff called him a fascist to the core, right? And some of the things that he's doing, I think for a lot of people feel like John Kelly and Mark Milley were right about him being a fascist to the core. So talk a little bit about that, because you write for young people about how to find a way forward. But when someone is that extreme, I think a lot of people are asking Democrats, how can you even want to find common ground with them?
Well, listen, that's my job. I am the governor of a very purple state, a state that elected me twice by big margins and also elected Donald Trump twice within 2 years of both those elections. And my duty, my oath is to serve the people of Michigan. I'm always going to try to find common ground where I can, but I'm never going to sacrifice my values, and I'm always going to stand up on behalf of the people of Michigan. And so when you see policies like, these Trump cuts that we've been talking about, that hurts Michiganders. So I am speaking out. I'm also going to try to help the administration find a path forward. We cannot impose this kind of pain on the American people and assume that the average person's going to be able to get ahead and pay their bills and take care of their families. And it's part of why trying to seek to understand, making sure that you never give up the fight is so important. We got to remind people about that now. But you can both try to find common ground and stand up for your values and fight when you need to. And that's exactly what my job
Governor of Michigan. You wrote this book for young people. There are a lot of scared young people right now, I'm sure, in Michigan, places like Detroit. You know, these ICE raids are targeting schools. A colleague of mine showed me the directive that was sent to their school in New York, where they're essentially trying to assuage the terror of young people who fear that ICE is going to bust in and take them, or go and their mom won't be home or their dad won't be home when they get home. How do you advise? And in this book, what do we learn about what advice you have for young people in this very, very chaotic era?
Well, it's scary. And, you know, kids are smart. They're not stupid. They can tell when someone is full of it or not. And that's why this book, you know, being blunt, being honest about some of the tough things that I've had to confront and the strategies I use to navigate around them, the ability of us to secure reproductive rights for women in Michigan after a 10-year battle after I told my story of sexual assault, and a Q&A at the end with my daughters to show, you know, we got to see the humanity in one another. There's a bunch of resources in the back of the book too. So if you're dealing with bullying or sexual assault or mental health issues, we want to help kids get through these really stressful times as well. But it's on the adults to make sure that we are living our values and showing them what real stewardship of resources and leadership looks like, and that's going to be more important in the coming.
You're making everything worse.
We're showing our consumer cellular gets great coverage.
We use the same towers as Big Wireless, so you get the same coverage.
Wow.
For unlimited talk and text with reliable coverage and your second month free, call Consumer Cellular.
Domino's Specialty Chicken. 4 tasty topping combos loaded on tender, juicy chicken. It kind of makes us wonder why we don't put a chicken. Well, okay, now we do. Domino's Loaded Chicken. Specialty chicken is now Domino's Loaded Chicken.
Hi, I'm attorney Scott Leckie. I've been called a pit bull because the way I fight for my clients in court. If you've been injured in an accident, suffered a medical malpractice, or been the victim of police brutality, you want a pit bull fighting for you. Call 1-800-447-HURT.
What is this?
I multiply my winnings 50 times by playing the new bonus 50x scratch-off game. So, I built a time machine to multiply the feeling of winning over and over again. But
What is this? What is this?
you again.
What is this?
Time machine. Bonus 50x. The new bonus X scratch-off games from the New York Lottery with prizes up to $3 million. Plus, bonus games for an extra chance to win cash.
Monster Jam, as big as it gets. Featuring Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, and more. Coming to Barclays Center this Friday through Sunday and UBS Arena next week. Brought to you by BKT Tires and Chick-fil-A Tri-State.
When you fight fires, you become a family. In this family, everybody comes home.
Sometimes in the middle of it all we have is each other.
When it matters most, we go in together, we come out together.
Chicago Fire, Fridays at 9 on My 9.
What can I do to help?
Hi, I'm attorney Scott Leckie. I've been called a pit bull because of the way I fight for my clients in court. If you've been injured in an accident, suffered a medical malpractice, or been the victim of police brutality, you want a pit bull fighting for you. Call 1-800-447-HURT.
Welcome back to the feud, everybody. Lucas family got 244. Wallace family got 44. Give me Simone, give me Rochelle. Point badge are triple. Top 4 answers on the board. Name someone kids thinks comes to the house while they're fast asleep.
Santa.
Santa. Austin, tell me somebody kids think come to the house when they fast asleep. Tooth Fairy. Tooth Fairy. Deborah, tell me somebody the kids think come to the house when they fast asleep.
tell me some of the kids think come to the house when they fast asleep.
Scary monsters. Yeah.
You give me that one answer, your family wins this game. If it's not there, you're still alive. Name someone kid thinks come to the house when they fast asleep.
The mailman.
Mailman. Why are you asleep? The mailman. Why are you asleep? You got 2 strikes. 1 answer left. Simone, give me that 1 answer. Your family wins this game. This time you've got 2 strikes.
Right now it's currently set to obtain display color, which means if you click any.
Step into Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises, and turn website layouts.
It can zoom in and out when we click on the canvas, just like that. Down here we have our hand tool. We can do this thing that's called panning around our canvas, and our rotate tool allows us to rotate our canvas. And I'm gonna say this now, using these tools are extremely inefficient and you do not really want to use them. It's a lot easier to just learn the shortcuts and use them. So for example, I'm just gonna click on the pen tool and I'm gonna do all of these functions with just shortcuts, and I'll show you guys what they are. So for zooming in and out, you just want to hit Control minus and Control plus, or Command minus, Command plus. So I'm gonna do that now, zooming in, Control plus, zooming out, Control minus. And that's a lot quicker than fumbling back and forth with that tool. And if you want to just put your canvas in the middle and frame it with these bars, you wanna hit Control 0. And there we go. So the next function, panning around your canvas, you can do that simply by holding the spacebar. Spacebar, and click and drag. And once you let go, it reverts back to whatever tool you're selected on. So I'm selected on the pen, and I got my pen function there. If I hit space, I can go around my canvas. And the last function, rotating your canvas. If I hit R, there it is. So I can do that, and those are the shortcuts for basic navigation. So I'm just gonna hop down to this second segment of the toolbar for a second, just because the next few tools in the first segment of the toolbar, they kind of need something like a drawing on the layer in order to be used. Right now my layer is empty, as we can see here. They won't work. Most of them will not work. So I'm gonna go down here, and the first tool that I see is the pen tool. And it's your standard outlining tool for line work, and it's great for that. I'm currently set to the G pen. The great thing about Clip Studio Paint is that it not only has one tool, it also has subtools. So right now I'm selected on the subtool for pen. But you can see that it also has a marker subtool. So if I click here, let's go on the first one. Sorry, that's a downloaded brush. This one is the, well, let's try here. Like the flat marker. There we go. So it's a different kind of brush. It's a marker. And yeah, subtools. Right now I'm on the pen tool and the shortcut is the letter P. So if you're ever not sure what the shortcut is for a tool, if you hover over it, you can see it'll tell you the name of the tool and the shortcut associated with it in brackets. Sometimes shortcuts are shared among tools in Clip Studio Paint, so we can see this pencil here. The shortcut is also the letter P, so I'm gonna click on that really quickly. And the cool thing you can do in Clip Studio Paint is that you can toggle between the pen and the pencil or whatever tools are associated with each other. If I hit P again, it'll change to the pen. So you can toggle back and forth, pen, pencil, just by hitting the same shortcut. The pencil tool also has a subtool, which is the pastel tool. Chalk, pastel, you can play around with that. Just set, I selected crayon, chalk. So tool properties down here, in this box here. I have brush size here. That's the first one I see, and that is how big your brush is. And you can change the size of your brush by using this slider, or you can use the brackets on your keyboard that's near the enter button to make your brush smaller, bigger, really quickly. Another shortcut is holding Control-Alt, clicking and dragging, and that's another quick way to quickly resize your brush. Going down here, we have opacity. So opacity is how opaque, of course, how opaque your brush is, how much transparency it has. So if I'm working with 100% opacity, let's just draw a squiggle here. That's 100%, you can't see through it. If I knock it back down a bit, there we go. You can also click on the number and you can enter it right away. I like working that way because it's quicker than using the slider, to me at least. So I'm at 50% opacity. And if I draw that there, we can see it's a lot more faded. And if I were to draw on top of it again with 50% opacity again, it creates this layering effect. Because that's pretty much what it's doing. It's layering 2 50% strokes on top of each other, and it becomes darker. Much like layering your colors traditionally. So now that the pen and the pencil tool is covered, I'm going to move back here to the eraser tool. And we have several settings for the eraser tool, like we have our standard hard eraser. So let's use that here, and it's just like a clean eraser. High opacity and so on. And we have our soft eraser, so it's kind of like an airbrush effect. Snap eraser does pretty much the same thing as the hard eraser. We can actually get started drawing, so let's do that. So I just quickly drew Marshall from Animal Crossing. Once you've drawn something, don't forget to save. So shortcut is just Control S, or you can always go to File, Save As. You can save it as a Clip Studio Paint format or Photoshop. So now, since we have a drawing on our layer, we can go back to the first segment of the toolbox here, and we can see what these tools do. So the one I'm selected on right now, operation, set to object, it's just gonna move your drawing around if you click and hold what's there. This new tool will, if you click and drag, select layer, it'll select the layers in which fall under the box. Since I only have one with a drawing in it, it's not doing much. And we'll skip over those two because they're not as important to what we're doing today. Moving down here, we have our move layer tool or move tool, and shortcut is K. And it does pretty much the same thing as the operation. It moves this drawing that's on. It's just that you don't have to click directly on the drawing. If you were to click here, it still moves our drawing. And that's just move layer. The lasso tool is really convenient if you need to select a certain part of your drawing and move it around. There's also different selections. I like using lasso a lot because you can create your own shapes to select. So let's say I want his legs to be a little bit more to the left. I can work in conjunction with the other tool, shortcut K, the move tool, and I can move his legs a little bit to the left, and then deselect by hitting Control D.
So again, the selection tool, there's also a rectangle
rectangle selection, ellipse selection. It's like a circle. If you want a perfect circle, you can hold shift. Polyline is also pretty good. It's pretty much like the lasso tool, only it's polygonal, so you need to click and then connect to the end, and you'll see a little circle on that cursor. And then same thing. Selection pen, it works similarly to a regular pen in which you can change the size. So if I were to select this area, it appears as green, and then once I let go, it creates a selection. It works well with, of course, the erase selection tool. So if I were to create a selection here, and then I go to the erase selection tool, it'll erase parts of the selection, like the name suggests. Shrink selection, so if I were to draw all around Marshall, it'll just shrink on the drawing itself. And that is the lasso tool. So moving down, we have the magic wand, shortcut W. And if you click in this area, it will select outside of the drawing. Or in certain areas like here, here, or here. If you have super clean line art, you'll be able to select certain areas you want and you can fill in color that way. That's the magic wand tool. And right now it's set to refer edited layer only to select, which means it's only referring to this layer that I have, the drawing layer. But if I were to quickly create a new layer and draw a squiggle, so now we can learn how to create a new layer. So I'm gonna go here, and this icon, which looks like a page, if you click on it, it'll create a new layer. I'm just gonna name it temp for temporary, because just for example, so I'm gonna draw a squiggle, a blobby smiley face there. So if I go back to my drawing layer and try that magic wand tool again, so refer to other layers to select, it's referring to everywhere that has a drawing on it or pixels on it, not just the layer that I am on, that I'm looking at. And moving down, last but not least in this section, the eyedropper tool. So the eyedropper tool does what the name suggests. It eyedrops colors. Right now it's currently set to obtain display color, which means if you click anywhere, it'll pick up color from any layer. So right now I'm clicking on the white background and it's color picking white. We can see that over here in our foreground and background display. And if I click on the smiley, we can see it picked up the color blue. If we click on this option, pick up from layer, it only allows us to color pick on the layer that we're selected. And we can see that, yes, I can color pick outside of where I drew Marshall, but it appears, we can see this transparency box selected, which means that it color picked transparency because we didn't draw anything there. And I like to leave it at obtain display color because that allows me to color pick any color that I see, even if it's on a different layer, right?
Alright, time to do some selling. That's going towards rent. Oh yeah, that's going towards girls' night. And that's going towards a new bag.
Every new listing by February 5th gets a chance to win a $50,000 prize pool. Terms and conditions apply.
I won't let my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis symptoms define me.
Emerge as you with clearer skin. With Tremfya, most people saw 100% clear skin that stayed clear, even at 5 years.
Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine.
Emerge with clear skin. Ask your doctor about Tremfya.
And that's the eyedropper tool. Another shortcut for the eyedropper tool, let's say you're on another tool, if you hold Alt, it'll temporarily bring up your eyedropper tool. And once you let go, it'll change back to your other tool. That's also very convenient to know. So the way that I want to color this drawing is by doing line art on top of my sketch and doing some colors afterwards. So I'm going to create a new layer. So let's go ahead and do a new layer and call it line art. And I'm gonna line him really quickly. And this actually leads us pretty well into layers again. And before I start outlining him, I want to lower the opacity on this sketch drawing. So remember how our brushes had opacity settings? Our layers also have opacity settings. So if I click on my drawing layer here, this is our opacity slider. So I can slide it, oops. So I can slide it up to here, like 25%, 30%. You can also click on the number and enter in a value. I like working at 45. It's enough for me to see, and it's light enough to not be too distracting. So once I have my opacity set, I can go to my line art layer and start outlining it. So I like to outline with the G pen, and you can go to the color wheel here and outline in a different color, a color of your choice. You can outline with black, you can outline with brown, it's up to you. So just a quick tip, if you want to rotate things or edit them and you're like, how do I do that? I only know how to use the lasso tool and select an area. I haven't learned how to transform it. So what you can do is use your lasso tool. Shortcut is M. And then let's say I want to make his eye a bit more tilted. Once I have it selected, I can hit Control T. And then once I have this transformation box open, and there isn't an immediate tool for transformation, the shortcut is Control T. And then once you go to any of the corners or outside of the transformation box, you'll see this little rotation tool. And just click and drag around here. And then I can tilt his eye like that. And while we're here, we can also learn a bit more about the transformation box, which is if you hold Control and one of these anchors, one of these corners, you can skew the shape. Or if you hold any of the edges or corners, it will size up and size down your selection. Let's say you just want it to be longer or wider, you can hit Shift and click, and it will restrict it to that one direction that you're trying to transform it in. I can hit Control Z to see what it looked like before, Control Y to redo, and yeah, I like that a bit better. And then I can hit Control D to deselect. And you may have seen me do this a couple of times already, but I like to check if my drawing looks okay when I flip it horizontally, and you can do that by going to your navigator up here, and there's this button, and it says flip horizontal, and if you click it, you can flip it. Same thing with flipping it upside down or vertically, you can do that as well. And I'm just finished outlining him, and if I want to see what the line art looks like without the sketch, I can just click on this eye that is on the drawing or sketch layer and toggle it on and off. So if I turn it off, I can see that's what my line art looks like. Now that my line art is done, I can dive into some coloring. So what I'm going to do is create layers underneath the line art layer and make my flat colors and my base colors there. So I'm gonna make sure I'm below my line art and create a new layer. I can name this base or color, use whatever kind of shorthand you want. This is just one way of coloring, and there's many more ways to do so and get the same result, and you can always experiment. So let's get to coloring. What I'm gonna do, an easy way to fill in this color, since we have clean lines, we can use the magic wand tool. shortcut W and just click on the outside of our drawing, and since it's clean lines, it works perfectly fine. And then after this, what I want to do is inverse my selection. So right now, my selection is everything outside, everything around him. But I want my selection to be everything on the inside. So I can do this one of two ways. I can go here on this little bar that we get, and it says invert selected area. If I click that, it will invert my selection just like that. Yeah, the shortcut for that is Control-Shift-I. So now I'm going to go back to my base color layer and I'm going to fill this in with color. So we're going to go down here to this third segment of the toolbar. This is the paint bucket tool. And right now it's selected on refer only to editing layer. So if we were to click, it'll only fill in our selection. Okay, since we have his base color filled in, I'm going to create a new layer. We're going to go over these tools that we glossed over for a second. So the tool that we left off here in the middle segment was the pencil tool. Right underneath it, we have the brush tool, the airbrush tool, and we have the decoration or stamp tool. These three tools share the same shortcut, which is the letter B. So if I hit the letter B over and over, it can toggle through those three tools. I'm on my new layer, and I can call this purple because he has some purple in his ears. And what I can do, since we created this, you can say perfect base layer to start with, it perfectly fills the overall picture. What I can do is clip this layer that's on top to this layer at the bottom. And you can do that by clicking this icon here that says clip at layer below. So now I'm going to change my color, and if I use a color like this, so I'm on my purple layer, and if I color anywhere, just everywhere and anywhere, it's only locked to that base color that we made.
WGU's flat rate tuition at your pace formatted generous transfer policy allow you to earn a degree in less time for less money. Pay about half the cost of the national average for a bachelor's degree. Learn more and get started at wgu.edu.
And that's with clipping layer with a new layer. Protecting alpha or pixel lock transparent pixels, pretty much does the same thing, but on that layer itself. So if I were to lock my base layer, it does pretty much the same thing. So I still have purple, but I'm not on my purple layer, I'm just on my base layer. And if I color over it, you can see that it's locked. It's locked to just wherever I colored originally. So remember, brush tools, I didn't go too in-depth into them because they do pretty much the same thing. They just have different properties and more of a painting-like effect. So if I were to go here, like opaque watercolor, we can see the transparency is more evident and it's more fluffy compared to the G-Pen. Dense watercolor, some of these brushes will have like a texture going on, like this one. And remember, Clip Studio Paint has subtools. So if I go through here, there's the oil paint subtool. It's still paint, it's still a more painterly effect, but it's just a bit thicker than the watercolor one, of course. But going down, we have the airbrush tool. Now the airbrush is a little bit different because it's like a stream of air. So if I were to click and hold, you can see the color slowly intensifies. I actually wanted to use this airbrush on his cheeks, so I'm gonna do that really quickly. I'm gonna create a new layer and call it pink. And clip it to my base. And I will color in his cheeks. And remember how our layers have opacity sliders? Let's say this pink is a little too intense and I just want to knock it back a bit. I can go here to my opacity and type in like 75, and it's like a softer pink. Last but not least, in this segment, we have the blur tool. Shortcut J. And then this will blur, of course, your colors. So I'm gonna go to my purple layer, and if I use the blur tool here, we can see it's doing what we expect it to do, blur out the color. And if you have any rough edges or anything like that, you could always use the blur tool. You can use the blending tool, and so on. So right now, I'm just going to fill in the rest of his colors using the exact same method that we learned, which is creating a new layer, clipping mask. And there's Marshall, who more or less looks like this, because I'm not really using his reference. I'm not really looking at his photo, kind of drawing him from memory. So what I want to do now is I actually want to change the color of his line art, and we briefly went over that, how to pixel lock our layers. So I'm just going to do that here. This one, lock transparency pixel. I'm going to click on it. What I like to do personally is fill the lines with the darkest color. Darker than the darkest color that we have on our character. So I look at Marshall, the darkest character used is the blue on his vest. However, I want the lines to be more on the brown side. So what I can do is pull this color that I color picked from his vest and then bring it down here. So it's a lot darker, and then I can move it around the color wheel and play around with the colors. And then I can bucket fill line art and see how does that look. For the areas that I miss, I can just brush over them. And so the color I chose is purple, and that's okay. I might try more of a brown. And I feel like that works for his entire body. I can just focus on matching the lines more to his vest here and coloring that in like that. So I just changed the color of his line art and I soften his eyes a little. If you click on one layer and then hold Control-Shift and click to the last layer, like in a specific section, it should select everything in between as well. And then what I can do is just click and drag, and once you see the folder highlighted in red, it means you're gonna drop everything in there, and now they're all in the same folder. Those are all the colors. So I can name this folder Base Colors. And this is a great way to stay organized. So what I'm going to do next is shade him a little bit. And I'm going to do that by creating a new layer, clipping it to the group this time, which is great. And I'm going to set my layer mode. So now we're going to learn a little bit about layer modes. I'm going to set it to multiply. So I can go up here, my layer modes here, and it's currently set to normal. If I click on that drop down box, you're met with a ton of different layer modes, and I would say take the time to test each one and kind of see what each one does. Who knows, there might be an effect you really like or that you're really looking for. Today we are looking for multiply. So multiply is the third one from the top. We got normal, darken, multiply. Click on that, and then I'm just going to name my layer shade. And then now let's choose a fairly light color, because when you're working on a multiply layer, it darkens the color that you're using, so it's not going to appear as the color that you pick. So I'm gonna come down here, use a more violet-y red, drop down the saturation, and then I'm gonna test what does that look like on him. It's a little gray, so I might go a bit more saturated, a little more violet, and then see what does that look like. A bit better. You can always change your colors as well, so don't worry too much. So I'm just gonna shade around him a little bit. So I have him all colored in. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm not going to add much. We want to keep it nice and basic, like we said. So I'm just going to go over the rest of the tools. Next we have our gradient, and there's many different settings for our gradients. Right now it's set to foreground to transparent, so that means it's selecting our foreground color and it's only using that. The other side of the gradient will be transparent. So I'm going to create a new layer underneath all of my line art and color layers, and we can just call it background. And let's see what this gradient does. So I'm using a really light color and you can barely see it. So I'm going to click and drag my gradient. So gradient foreground to background is picking up the color of your foreground and the color of your background. So right now mine is this plum color and black. So I can change this to like a lighter pink, and this one to like a purpley blue. Can also try the other settings. I like this one, midday sky. It's a very easy preset sky color, so I might use that. I'm gonna size this up a bit bigger, just so I get a bit more subtle range. There is Marshall floating in the sky. That is our gradient tool. And here's the final drawing. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a fellow art nerd or a teacher. If you really liked it and enjoy free quality art education, subscribe. Thanks for watching!
You have got to get this Olay body lotion. Never felt my skin this amazing.
Sheba, what cats want.
Maybe that's true that but for the people who committed violent acts, like it was more often than not you would see that they had these long criminal histories, whether it be, drugs, a lot of violence, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of assaults on women. Ryan Samsel comes to mind, particularly really vile attacks where he was the individual who was the first one to breach the gates and knocked over Carolyn Edwards, the first officer who was injured that day, knocked her head against a metal pole behind her, and he was carrying the Trump Rambo flag right as he got to the Capitol, and that was not the first time he had assaulted a woman. He had shoved his girlfriend's face into a slice of hot pizza at one point, I believe, put her head into like a ravine of some sort, like a lot of really terrible allegations of assaults on women throughout his criminal career.
When you talk to these people now, if you're still talking to some of them, it seems to me that at least if you go by Enrique Tarrio and some of the others, that they feel a sense of impunity now, that they feel like they are now above the law themselves.
Yeah, I think that it's a permission structure in a lot of ways, right? Because Donald Trump, despite obviously after on January 6th, his family, now we know from the January 6th committee, had pushed him to say this statement, and probably further than he really wanted to go, because his original message to him as they were on the grounds that day is, we love you, you're very special. That was his core message, and then the subsequent message was, everyone will be held accountable to law. And remember, the framing of this entire Capitol investigation started under the Trump administration. That was final days of the first Trump administration. That was a Trump appointee in the U.S. Attorney's Office who really set the standard for these cases, and that's what they sort of went with. And so, this idea that now you have this Stop the Steal supporter who's now in charge of the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. and overseeing all these cases and ordering these cases dismissed, saying that, this was all a mistake. Well, that was the original person
what the hell?
on this path was Donald Trump's administration.
My artwork with abracadabra. Hold on. What the hell? Oh shit! I'm pressing the wrong buttons. That's damn. Okay. Oh, that was close. I was about to cry. That was hard, man. Shit. Uh-oh. I'm pressing the wrong fucking button again.
Doping for hair with the Alpecin Caffeine Shampoo. Washing with the Alpecin Caffeine formula boosts the performance of hair. Alpecin. Doping for hair, only for hair. Get yours today on Amazon.
This one goes better with the walls.
This is so much easier than the home improvement store.
Yeah, some things are just better at home. With Empire's Home Floor Advantage, you can compare samples in your own space. Plus, I'll be here to help you with every step of the process.
Call or visit EmpireToday.com and get the home floor advantage.
It really is better at home.
Empire Today.
The virus that causes shingles is sleeping in 99% of people over 50. It's lying dormant, waiting, and could reactivate. Shingles strikes is a painful, blistering rash that can last for weeks, and it could wake at any time. Think you are not at risk for shingles? It's time to wake up, because shingles could wake up in you. If you're over 50, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about shingles prevention.
With Dexcom G7, managing your diabetes just got easier. So, what's your glucose number right now? Good thing you don't need a finger stick. How about food affect your glucose? Oh, the answer's on your phone. What if you're heading low at night? Wow, it can alert you. And you can even track your goals. Manage your diabetes with confidence with Dexcom G7, the most accurate CGM. Learn more at Dexcom.com.
Lumify?
It's kind of amazing. Wow. Lumify eye drops dramatically reduce redness.
In 1 minute.
And look at the difference. My eyes look brighter and whiter for up to 8 hours. Lumify really works. See for yourself.
A Sleep Number smart bed is perfect for couples.
We're looking for adults 45 and under to be in our HPV vaccination ad. Sound like you?
Not me. The inter-
Well, boys and girls, you can rest easy, because here's Jeanette of A Broken Heart Pro singing You Don't Know.
Don't you wanna? Yeah, I wanna put you back in me, but I gotta shake it off. Back in the how beautiful you feel in me. You don't know how much of yourself is free. It's that I can't define. No, I know where I go. It's my homework. You don't know. You don't know. Don't you wanna? Yeah, I wanna. Back into me. But I gotta shake it off.
I have relapsing MS, but I still want to spend my time my way. I chose Kesimpta because it works for me and my schedule.
Kesimpta is a B-cell treatment that gives you the power of proven results, reduced relapses, and slowed disability progression. When it's ready, you can take it at home in 1 minute, once a month. Don't take if you've had an allergic or life-threatening reaction to Kesimpta or have hepatitis B. Your doctor should test for hepatitis B before treatment. If you've had it, it could come back. Serious side effects, including fatal infections, can happen, especially if taken before or after other medicines that weaken the immune system. PML, a rare serious brain infection that can be fatal or lead to severe disability, may happen. Tell your doctor if you had or plan to have vaccines, or you are or plan to become pregnant. It's not known if Kesimpta will harm your unborn baby. Kesimpta may decrease certain antibodies and should be monitored. Most common side effects are upper respiratory infection, headache, and injection reactions. Reactions include swelling, itching, pain, skin redness, fever, headache, muscle pain, chills, and tiredness. Ask your doctor about Kesimpta.
suicide prevention being litigated in the debates. Do you remember Donald Trump campaigning on stopping federal efforts on veteran suicide prevention? Of course not. And yet that seems to be what he tried to do today. Now, last week we brought you the news that tons of researchers at the National Institutes of Health had been unilaterally paused in their activities. Research on cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, grant funding, study sessions, even some trials, it appears, all just immediately frozen, put on hold without explanation. Why? Well, honestly, it's still not entirely clear. Now comes this document from the Office of Management and Budget, that's a sort of White House's budgeting arm, last night, that has effectively ordered unilateral freezes, just immediate unilateral freezes on federal grant spending. This is a scheme straight out of Project 2025. The two-page memo demands those spending freezes because, and I am quoting here, the use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve. Now, a bunch of people took them to court, and this afternoon a federal judge temporarily put those spending freezes, which could total into the trillions of dollars, on hold, but just until arguments next week. But just to be clear, today was spent with people in every state of this country, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, all trying to figure out what was going to happen, because this has enormous real-world consequences. As the Washington Post put it, hours after the Trump administration announced a sweep and freeze on federal spending, the U.S. government fell into chaos Tuesday as officials braced for potential interruptions to programs that promote food safety, combat crime, provide college-age aid, produce medical research, and respond to natural disasters. As far as we can tell, and again, it's a little unclear, they just by fiat ordered huge swaths of congressionally appropriated funding signed by a president to halt. Again, the scope of this order still unclear. Get this, according to Democratic Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon, access to the Medicaid services portal that the states use to interact with the payment system and Medicaid went down in all 50 states today. Okay? We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars here. We're talking about 80 million Americans who use Medicaid for some of the most vulnerable of our population, but also broadly used. And the portal for the payment system that the states use just went down. No one explained why. Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost of Florida noted this afternoon, just got off the phone with a medical provider who accepts Medicaid. Because they are shut out from the Medicaid portal, they might not be able to make payroll. They exclusively serve low-income Floridians. Again, this is the payment portal system for Medicaid. 80 million people, hundreds of billions of dollars. Now, the White House took so much heat for this one, they are apparently blaming it on a glitch. Quote, the White House is aware of the Medicaid website portal outage. We expect the portal to be back online shortly. Okay, access now seems to be restored. But did you do it on purpose or not? Like, was it just an accident? Everyone got cut on the Medicaid portal when you froze all the funding? I'm not sure anyone in the White House actually knows what they're doing. Yesterday they said the funding freeze was for programs including but not limited to, again, I'm quoting their text here, including but not limited to those affected by Trump's executive orders targeting so-called DEI programs, really anti-discrimination programs, and other spending Trump has deemed woke. Today, they said the freeze is expressly limited to those programs. See the contradiction there? Very confusing. But here's what's clear. They're messing with people's actual lives. As Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland warned, federal grants to help veterans in rural areas access health care and grants to help veterans get other critical services, including suicide prevention resources, transition assistance, and housing for homeless veterans, will be cut off if these budget freezes are implemented broadly. The list of what could be impacted, again, there's a lot of money that flows through federal government into grants. The list of what could be impacted includes grants for, get this, National Center for Missing Exploited Children, grants to prevent domestic violence against women, grants for the Meals on Wheels program that feeds elderly folks, grants for early childhood education, grants for funding the police, and for? Well, it's to destroy the constitutional order of checks and balances enacted by the founders and then reformed, improved, and reinforced throughout the last 250 years. And this is not my view, this is Ross Moat, we're going to talk about in a second, who talks about a post-constitutional order, okay? The constitutional order we have now supports a federal government that is supposed to serve the public good and not just solely the moment-to-moment corrupt whims of whoever is currently serving as president. Trump and the Trump administration is carrying out in almost every quadrant a complete assault on that order.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like.
Right now, it's currently set to up.
Hey guys, just a little bit of a different video this week. Don't get scared by the video duration. 2.5 hours. I know, that's like one Lord of the Rings movie.
I cannot.
But over the last few months, I've been running a digital art bootcamp over on my Patreon. I know that a ton of you guys, my subscribers, are artists yourselves, but not everyone has the means to attend art school. Art school is super expensive, that's no secret, and one of my main goals with the digital art bootcamp is to condense some of the most important and golden information that I've learned in my formal art education and provide a more affordable option that doesn't cost $25,000 a semester. It's been so inspiring and rewarding seeing how quickly my students have improved in such a small amount of time, and so that's why we're releasing the full first class here for free on my YouTube channel. This video is the full 2.5 hour class that was released earlier this year, where I teach how to properly study and draw from reference, and then add a little bit of your own flair. And if after watching this video it really helped you and you want to learn more, you can join the Digital Art Bootcamp even now. We have new students joining every month. It's not too late. So thank you so much and please enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to Digital Art Bootcamp.
Welcome.
This is the very first class. It's insane. We've never had this many students. You know, there's thousands of you guys wanting to get better at art.
Yeah, it was so surprising how much turnout there was.
I know, and I get to be your instructor. My name is Ross, aka Rossjaws on the internet. I will be helping you guys get better, and this is Stella.
Hi, I'm Stella. I'm the student voice. I represent you guys. I will be bringing up questions with Ross throughout his teaching today from the student's perspective. I'll be taking a lot of your questions from Discord, asking them to him, asking him to point out things as he's drawing, and yeah, hopefully we can all just learn a lot from it.
Art school was such a transformative time in my art journey. You know, that's where I learned so much. I made all my friends there. It was a whole lot of fun, but also really hard work. Yeah. And so I wanted to take my art school experience and channel it through a 9-month curriculum. And then we added 10 months because we smashed our goal.
Ooh, guest instructor mode.
With the guest instructor.
That's exciting.
But yeah, the very first class is concept illustration from reference portraits. I love this assignment. I think it's how I grew the most, you know, because it solves two purposes. One, I am studying, and also two, it feels like a personal piece. For example, the Mona Lisa, I studied it, and then I added my own flair with the butterflies. And so this is super exciting. This class can be split into 2 parts. The first part, we'll look at references, you know, find out what makes a good reference, what makes a bad reference, and then we'll choose one reference and start the drawing. Second part, we will bring it to finish and add our own flair.
Nice.
There's gonna be a break in the middle, and use this time to stand up, you know, walk around, maybe take a quick nap, walk your dog, eat something, because I don't want you to sit at the computer all day.
Yeah, come back refreshed and ready to learn more.
Also, there's gonna be an optional assignment in every single class. Mileage is key, and so the more you study, the better you get.
Yeah, just watching the videos and not applying it at all, you're not going to get nearly as far as if you're doing the assignments and really growing from it.
Right. And so, without further ado, let's do it. All right, first class concept illustration from reference. This one I've done a million times, but I get to do it live today.
Nice. Starting with a fun one, too.
Yeah. And the most important thing here is to pick the right reference, because you'll be spending hours on this painting, perfecting it, and you don't want to choose the wrong one. And so I've gathered some references here today. But before we do so, I want to take a minute to kind of analyze this study.
Okay.
And so last year I studied the Mona Lisa, which was freaking hard. And then I kind of added my own flair. I kind of took the essence of the Mona Lisa, with the eyes, with the expression, with similar lighting, and then I added my butterflies. I love kind of the cyan color. I added some flowers, and I wanted to give it some life with some color dodge. And so we'll be doing this today.
Awesome.
And I've gathered some references here. Nice. So choosing the right reference is extremely important. And this comes from Rachel Bradley.
Correct.
And I've took 5 of her photos here, and she courteously gave us permission to draw her.
Yeah.
And so today we'll be turning one of these photos into a full painting.
Yeah, if you look on sites like Gumroad and QBrush and ArtStation, there's a bunch of different models that have reference packs like this, and it's a really good drawing resource.
Break free with the new Opera GX, the browser that puts you in control, with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our hit different is mods. Giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
Beauty brings joy. Joy we all deserve. Because beauty is about possibilities. Find all the brands and services you can't live without and the ones you can't wait to try. All at prices you'll love. The joy of all things beauty. All in one place.
I'm dropping it now. Nice. So I'm going to analyze a few of these and show you what makes a good reference and which one is maybe a not so good reference. You can tell here that she's very, very pretty, and so it's really easy to work with. Let's split these up. One thing I love doing over the course of my career is have a reference folder full of reference images I can use, whether it's stock, whether it's inspiration. Start building it now. A lot of my patron veterans know that I call this my second brain. And so I gathered a few here. This one I thought was a great reference. What we're looking at is light and shadow. That is extremely important. Light and shadow shapes. So for this one, I really love the shape of her profile here. And also kind of her reverse V shape here. And so when I look at references, I look at shape. Notation for us to work with, because if you squint, there's a kind of lack of light onto the shapes here, and it's hard for us to read. And so whenever I am trying to identify a good reference to work with, I only look at light and shadow and what shapes that make. And squinting really helps.
Yeah, I never heard the term squinting until I went into art school. For some of our members, they might not know. What do you mean by that?
Squinting helps us delete the detail and look at the big picture, look at the good shapes. So, you know, when someone's really far away and there's a bunch of light shining in your eyes, you squint, and so you shut out all the information, and what's left is all the necessary information. Yeah, so I'm squinting right now, and all I see is this pop of shoulder. And so maybe if I was doing like a shoulder exercise, and maybe I was doing an arm exercise, I can look at the shoulder, oh wow, yeah. But I am trying to get a good overall shape composition. This one here is absolutely gorgeous. If you squint, it works so well because this is what I'm noticing here. I'm noticing this shape mixed with this shape. You know, we get the beautiful lighting on the face, and that's your focal point, and then all the hair is kind of like sweeping motion, and then we get the verticalness of the arm. So there's a play between curves and straights. I actually might use this one. I think we should.
It's a nice one.
This next one here, I don't know if this is a good reference, because if you squint, it feels a little unconfident. You know, it feels like this is something I wouldn't study, because it's like, if you squint, it's like a big square here, and then it's kind of awkward here. But I found something that works way better. You feel the confidence in this pose, you know? It's like boom, boom, confidence. And so I wanted to have the same pose, but in different angles, so you guys can see something that wouldn't be a good reference, and this one is a great reference, right? And then we have these two references here. One of them is better than the other, but they have the same emotion, they have the same kind of posing. And I see over here that this one's a little more awkward. You know, I don't really feel this emotion best represented by this pose. For example, we get this kind of awkwardish circle mixed with a square here. And
awaken to a world of wonder.
Right now it's currently set to obtain display color, which means if you click anywhere, it'll pick up color from any layer. So right now I'm clicking on the white background and it's color picking white. We can see that over here in our foreground and background display. And if I click on the smiley, we can see it picked up the color blue. If we click on this option, pick up from layer, it only allows us to color pick on the layer that we're selected. And we can see that, yes, I can color pick outside of where I drew Marshall, but it appears, we can see this transparency box selected, which means that it color picked transparency because we didn't draw anything there. And I like to leave it at obtain display color because that allows me to color pick any color that I see, even if it's on a different layer, right? And that's the eyedropper tool. Another shortcut for the eyedropper tool, let's say you're on another tool, if you hold Alt, it'll temporarily bring up your eyedropper tool. And once you let go, it'll change back to your other tool. That's also very convenient to know. So the way that I want to color this drawing is by doing line art on top of my sketch and doing some colors afterwards. So I'm going to create a new layer. So let's go ahead and do a new layer and call it line art. And I'm gonna line him really quickly. And this actually leads us pretty well into layers again. And before I start outlining him, I want to lower the opacity on this sketch drawing. So remember how our brushes had opacity settings? Our layers also have opacity settings. So if I click on my drawing layer here, this is our opacity slider. So I can slide it, oops. So I can slide it up to here, like 25%, 30%. You can also click on the number and enter in a value. I like working at 45. It's enough for me to see opacity settings. So if I click on my drawing to not be too distracting. So once I have my opacity set, I can